Hello and welcome to the part 3 of my Vlogmas, which now is more of a recap of my Christmas. We drove south to Bergen to have an early Christmas celebration with my family, and in the car I was working on my blanket that I have a knit along with woolly knit running until the 1st of March. As we were driving through the fjords and mountains, I managed to finish another section of my blanket and start the third one, which is identical to the one that I just showed. Traveling along the west coast of Norway with a baby is quite ideal, as the road is interrupted by ferry rides where you can have a break, use the bathroom, change diapers, and grab a bite to eat. And the scenery isn't too bad either, even though lots of the ferries are quite old. The ferry between Førde and Bergen is around 30 minutes, and they have the most delicious sausages with bacon. I recommend. When we got to Bergen, we had to decorate the house for Christmas. This was about the middle of December, before driving south to celebrate with Matthias' family for the actual Christmas Eve. I love all of the old nostalgic Christmas ornaments that my parents have in their house. We don't really have a set placement for any of them, so we always just put them around everywhere. So the house is covered in all these little nisse in their knitted outfits on skis or doing little pranks. Most of the ornaments are either sewn, felted, or knitted. And there's a bunch of these rats and mice with their knitted outfits, as well as these nisse that typically would live in Norwegian farms and barns and do pranks on the people living there. They usually have a red hat and knitted outfit. And some of them are quite old. I don't really know where they're from, but we've always just had them. It was nice just relaxing together with family, having a good time, good talks, and eating lots of delicious Christmas cookies. My dad had a lot of fun this year putting up Christmas lights inside the house, but it made for quite a cozy ambience, if you will. I also got to get a little bit of pampering at my mom's clinic, got my nails done all festive and ready for the celebrations this year. Her clinic is in the center of Bergen, Din Kosmetiske Klinikk, and we went around window shopping afterwards, and I grabbed myself some balls of yarn. I went to Fær, which is a new store that carries a lot of Hillesvåg. And I also went to the broderi store that's also new to get a zipper for a suit for Nelly that my mom had knitted for her. And that is literally right next to Fær. I think there's 2 other businesses between them. And this one carries a lot of sandnes garn and other yarns like rowan, not too much, but a little bit, and some hand-dyed yarns, as well as a lot of equipment for embroidery, which is where I found the zipper. I grabbed a skein of self-striping sock yarn from here because I was inspired by somebody else on Instagram that did a striped sock using self-striping yarn and another basic unicolored yarn. So I grabbed one from here, and then I went over to the Fær store afterwards to get a non-superwash white yarn to hold with it. I also grabbed some rubber cords from here because I can never get enough of them. And here you can see all the colors of that self-striping yarn. I was really torn between getting the rust and golden one and the green and brown one. This is the one I did end up getting, however. I loved these colors. Here you can see some footage from the Fær store. I think this is my new favorite store in Bergen. I really like their very Scandi chic design. It's very clean and it's easy to see all the yarn that they have. And I bought some of the new sock yarn from Hillesvåg, and that is a non-superwash sock yarn with nylon in it, and I think I have enough to make at least 2 pairs of socks. They also have some really nice stitch markers in here, and I grabbed myself a little progress keeper with a chili. And there's something about a yarn wall where you need a ladder that is very satisfying to me. I went to a yarn store in Paris that had a similar vibe. And here you can see Nelly. She's already starting to knit at only 11 months old, making her mama so proud. Now we just need to add the yarn. She was also super excited to decorate the tree, reaching for all the glass ornaments that could break, but we put those higher up. I love all the gold and red ornaments. We've had these for years, along with some other wooden and white ones, but we have those at the cabin because we've been celebrating Christmas there for the last years. Matthias and I made some Thai fish soup to break up all the Christmas food we're gonna have. And I had a try at making little saffron balls. This used saffron and some liquor. It wasn't a huge hit. I think if I were to make it without the liquor, it would have been more the taste of what my family enjoys. But it was fun trying something new. During every day of December, I knit on my advent blanket, which was the Zigzag Zen by Annie Uten Knits, using advents from Cami Joan Knits and some VIP Lanagato yarn that I had in my stash. It started out with little stripes, but by the 24th of December, they were quite long and took me several hours to finish. But I did finish in time, and Ellie got it under the tree on Christmas Eve. And now it's ready to go to kindergarten with her once she starts it. Norwegian Christmas dinner varies based on which part of Norway you're from. On the west coast, it's quite simple food made from sheep's ribs, together with some mashed nepe, which is some kind of root vegetable, potatoes, red cabbage, and some melted butter, or some people have an onion sauce with it. It's quite simple food, it's what they had available, and it's very traditional food. The mashed root vegetable is my favorite dish. You boil it and then you add butter, cream, salt, pepper, and muscat. And my family cannot have enough of it. We each have at least one of these per person in the mash. And most of us don't even eat the potatoes. We just want this mash. The pinnechet pretty much makes itself. You soak it in water the day before because it's dried, salted, and smoked usually. You take out the water and then you steam it for hours so the meat just falls off the bone. Nellie tried her first nectarine and fell in love with it and started trying to eat it herself. With her 2 little teeth, she managed to peel it. We decorate the table with a tablecloth embroidered by my grandmother. We have 2 of these, one for a smaller setting and one for a larger setting. And the Christmas tree was decorated, the gifts were laying, and we had a nice little pretend Christmas Eve with my side of the family. There's no Christmas Eve for me if we don't have Popelko on the TV around 11 a.m. My mom is always in charge of making the mash, always making sure that it has enough flavor, which means enough butter, cream, and muscat usually. The dinner isn't very fancy, but boy does it taste like Christmas to us, and we can't have it any other way. We also had it with the homemade sausages that me and Matthias made this year with my aunt. And my dad likes the medisterkake, which is another traditional meat dish for Christmas. But the rest of us just want the sausages and the pinnechet. My mom makes a dessert which is called dronning Maud pudding, which is lighter than the traditional porridge dessert that a lot of people have for Christmas. We also went to see the Bergen julemarked and had some delicious churros and food as we walked around the stands. And of course, in traditional Bergen weather, it was pouring rain. But we had a good time still. And I think Nelly enjoyed seeing all the lights. A lot of the stands were actually selling knitwear or knit-inspired items and lots of wool and handmade crafts, along with sausages and cheeses and things that you could gift for Christmas if you hadn't already gotten your gifts done. After celebrating in Bergen, we hit the road again to drive south to Kristiansand, where Matthias's parents live. The roads on the west coast of Norway are something you need to get adjusted to. They're not wide enough to have a line in the center, and you really need to keep your side of the lane, where it could get quite dangerous. Us locals are quite used to these driving conditions and will have no problem keeping the speed limit, but we can clearly see when someone in front of us are not used to driving on these roads, because you really do need to keep your side of the road and know where you can speed up and where you need to keep on the brakes. On one side it's usually mountainous and on the other side is a fjord. But as we drove down south through Stavanger, we had to stop at sandnes garn, the mill outlet factory store, where you can buy their usual yarns as well as some discounted mill ends. And for the first time this year, they actually had some cones. If you follow me, you know that I am weak when it comes to cones, so I was very tempted and I did get away with a couple of cones. They didn't have any information on them, so I asked the lady what she thought it might be, and I have to say she was not a very nice person to talk to. She was quite abrupt, rude, and unfriendly, to be frank, but that's all right. If she didn't want to help me, I can figure out myself based on what I know from sandnes garn. I think the yarns that I got away with might have been some alpaca følgetråd and a DK weight yarn, which I think is close to a double Sunday, as well as a tin perkint. But that's just what I think it is. It would have been helpful if she would have had a look and guessed, but oh well. It is still a great value for the amount of yarn that you get. You pay per kilo. And there were some really nice treasures in here. In the same room, they have all of these discounted yarns, which are either colorways that are no longer being sold, colorways that they tried but are not going to continue, uneven dyes, etc. But here you can get some really nice discounted yarns. Once we got to Kristiansand, I didn't really get to record a lot because we were always around people, socializing, and having a great time. We went to this restaurant where you could order kind of tapas like pincho style dishes, and it was delicious. I can highly recommend Pincho City if you ever go to Norway. A lot of the holiday time was spent watching traditional TV shows like this one, which is supposed to be a New Year's Eve thing, but in Norway we watch it on the 23rd. And Nellie had the best time unwrapping gifts on Christmas Eve. The paper was the favorite thing about the whole evening for her, I think. She went a little bit crazy. And again, trying to knit. No baby was harmed taking this footage. We had a really nice time with Matthias's parents, just relaxing, knitting, eating good food, and I made a new Christmas cast on, which is the Versal pullover by Albion and McLaughlin. And this is my Christmas gift that Matthias got me this year. This really nice redesigned knit leather pouch. After Christmas, we went to the cabin to celebrate New Year's Eve, and Nellie got a new sweater from my mom, and we had the best time listening to music, dancing, and our friends came to visit, and we played some lovely board games like Besserwisser and Secret Hitler, and our friends made some lovely dinner, and then we watched the neighbors' fireworks while standing out in the snow, finally getting that little Christmas feeling that we'd been missing since there was no snow down south. And it was quite pretty up in the isolated mountainside, watching the neighbors' fireworks. After celebrating New Year's, we went home and had to get rid of a lot of snow. Nellie tried to help, but she wasn't very efficient. With this, I want to thank you for watching my little video memory diary that I've created during this first Christmas as a little family of 3. I hope that you've had an amazing December, no matter where you live and how you celebrate, even if you don't celebrate. And I will see you soon with another podcast. Bye.